Well, hey there team, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to some more Oxygen Not Included. That's right, we're dipping our toes into Let's Play, get a bit more progress through, I kind of miss it. I kind of miss some of these games and getting a few episodes up. So make yourself heard, chuck a comment, that sort of stuff. I'm not that worried about all the algorithm engagement, I'm worried about actual feedback. If people want to see more episodes of this, let me know, and, who knows, we could make 100. So where were we at? We've basically just done a start on the new DLC. It's going to be a while before we get really full into the new upgrade stuff. I'll do a quick summary, because it's been a couple of days since we did this episode. This is how I build my bases in the early game. I understand that things like for transit, there are fire poles and all sorts of cool stuff later on in the game, but for an early base, this is what I do, okay? This is my citadel, which is essentially a sealed O2 container, and we implement a sump on the bottom end, basically. It's just a mirror part of the base that we can move the boundary up and down, but the whole idea is for a gravity-fed oxygen carbon dioxide filter in the early days, and you can already see it's making its way down there. This is the sort of heart of how we run my building system in a 2x2 sort of just square building pattern, okay? So just have a look at this, coupled with the fact that it is flanked by transit and flow vectors. Well, not vectors, but passages, I suppose. And then we've got my little Jeffries tubes for general transit, right? And we don't have doors through the center of the building unit. And that way, dudes can sort of just, it's not the straightest direction, but they can run along a corridor and then go down the stairs and they can access anywhere, basically. The whole idea of this system as well is that it's kind of modular, so as we require more space, I could just knock out a wall and make this room a double-sized room, or even 4 times the size, or even, as we get up and we start building these units like this, we could make it even bigger, right? So it is hyper-modular, that's the point. Welcome to the channel. This is how I build everything and everything, because, I don't know, I'm like a really crappy functioning robot. I'm like a dumb robot. There you go. Sort of like Wheatley. Anyway, so off we go. Pick back up. We're getting research tables up. I did stream a little bit of this, but I've rolled the save back, clever me, to where we were on the episode, so I don't think you should have really missed anything. At the moment, I'm going to want to move that box because that's where it starts default, but my idiosyncrasies don't want it there. So we'll be researching because we can't build that box, so we don't want to destroy it just yet. But for the most part, everything's gone gangbusters. Let's put that up there. And, I might, yeah, okay, I'll just do that. I'll mirror that. I might even get rid of that box before it gets too overfull. We're going to need to move the water out of the sump. Well, actually, we can have a reservoir down there, but the whole idea of this separation boundary is that my dudes should never cross the boundary, right? This is a workspace with oxygen. This is a machine space with CO2, right? So you put stuff down there that is generally autonomous. A good example would be these batteries. We'll probably end up moving them down below at some point. So what we would ultimately do is have a water reservoir below levels and probably a wastewater reservoir, but we'd have an access room up here, so either a drawer or a deposit, something to that effect, which we'll show. We'll probably actually get through exactly that today. Well, we'll see. We'll see. No promises. No promises. Did I make that priority 9? But no, that was silly. Silly autopilot Scarlet. Priority 5. I make some things like toilets, like this, priority 9, but we'll just leave that normal. Okay, cool. So that's going fine, everybody's happy. We'll probably just wait for the research to get going. As far as this goes, see, now you can see it's pooling here. Now, I wonder if this is still the case, because I've actually played a lot of this game. I used to be very, very hyped. Not that I don't love this anymore, but when it first came out into early access, man, I burnt the hours. And a legacy thing I remember was that heavy gases trended to the bottom right, and light gases trended to the top left. It must just have something to do with how they've written the code, because you can see here, no two gases can mix on the same square. It's a game, you know, it's a 2D. You got to have a realized gas system visually. I think it's inspired, to be honest, but it's definitely not like ideal gas. Well, not strictly. But you can see this is oxygen, albeit at a fairly, well, they're both pretty dense actually, but they swap spots instantaneously, sort of thing. So it has this sort of flow profile in a way. And the way you can sort of you can see it visually actually, is that the CO2 tries to crawl down, but it seems to get hung up in corners as well. You see it's doing it a little bit here. And that's interesting though, like when you recognize that game mechanic, the one ladder bay is perfect for flow, right? The dudes only need one ladder bay to walk up and down, but as far as, we can't, actually let's seal that. We can't really see it perfectly yet. Maybe this bit of CO2 will come down, but like, as I said, you can, that's on, ultimately it's just swapping spots with a piece of O2. Like the squares are just swapping instantaneously. So when it comes to flowing up and down this stairway, it's all good. They basically, here you go, you can see this now. It sort of walks down as it will swap, or it might go in there for a little bit, but one square is all you need for hyper efficient flow, at least as far as gravity. You know, now if we want it even more efficient, like forced or vacuum or anything like that, that's a different story, but that's not what we're doing here. Colony summary, what's going on here? It's probably giving me little achievements or something. Bed and bath, lucky me. Now this is interesting as well. They've added this cosmic archaeology. This is totally foreign to me. But this reminds me of the Total War games. I don't know if they still do it these days, but you can do Home Sweet Home, which is like a shorter victory, and the Great Escape will be the longer victory. So I'm not really sure how this works. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, let's check out our duplicates, because I wouldn't mind. Let's start allocating some stuff, and we'll give them their little bloody hats as well, because, I mean, wouldn't you want a hat if you were all important? I'm the construction dude. Give me my fucking hat. You can be the tinkering dude. I'm not really super worried at the moment. Let's just sort of spread the love. Medical compounding. I'm almost certainly never going to build any medical. I could use farming. Because, now, actually, I should explain what I'm doing, because this might be the first time people see it. The love heart represents a personal interest for this bloke, or Nicola. So you can see here, this is their morale. And this is the morale need, which is an offset. So down here, it's only 1 or 2. It's actually 2. However, if it's something they love, it's only 1, right? So there is a 1 bar of morale offset if you give them a job that they love, right? However, up this end, you can see, look at that. That's outrageous. Now, if the red ever outweighs the green, what you'll have is you have a stress meter up here, and they will start stressing out. And if they hit 100% stress, they do like a RimWorld mood break, and they start crying, pissing, vomiting, smashing things. So that's just generally, it's not a great idea. So the point is, don't push your colony's morale too early, too hard. Yeah, that's basically the whole point. Medicine? No, what did I want? I wanted agriculture, farming. There we go. Cool. Welcome to the coloniari. Now, a common mistake, let's say, which is something I absolutely subscribe to, is over-recruiting your colony, because they are sucking back oxygen. You can see the rate, you know, the oxygen generation in and out, right? And there's also heat death to think about as well. They're all hot, and they're essentially, these dudes are little bloody consumers and generators and problem makers. So the more dudes that you cram in here, the more you have to deal with. However, many hands make light work. I'm very adamant on that. So I think heat death, it's pretty safe to say, kills, at least in the early days, that would kill a lot of my colonies. However, the game was a closed system in those days. As in, you literally could not destroy heat. Actually, that's a bit of a lie, because there's alien plants in the ice biome called wheezeworts, and they actually suck hot air in and poo cold air out. So that actually does destroy energy, effectively. I mean, it's a video game, who cares? But now you can access space and presumably eject stuff into space. So you could probably take superheated gas and just blast it out of existence. which is kind of cool. And you know what? It's to be honest, it's kind of necessary, because a big part of what we're going to be doing shortly is trying to find geysers. Geysers are superheated steam vents. They don't just pop out water, they pop out all sorts of things, but essentially they're a generator, right? They're creating an infinite resource, i.e. water. However, they're doing it at an incredibly hot temperature, which is part of the fun of the puzzle, is trying to figure out how to rectify that. It's like, okay, cool, now I've got infinite water, and now my base is going to fucking cook if I don't do something about it. Such an inspired game. Anyway, they're researching. I'm mostly just waiting, and I'm letting them all clean up. And look at that. This is a perfect example of the sump hard at work. If anything, this is showing us that we kind of need to expand it a little bit, right? Which is what we'll do. Let's do this. Might as well, because we're waiting for the research to tick over anyway. Oh, I guess... Oh, yeah, I can delete from here. Do that. Build a door. Alright, there's our research. So we should be able to destroy this and then rebuild it. I won't queue the research just too quickly. I find you can actually get through research really quickly. I find, given that you can overtask your dudes, like if you put too many blueprints on, then you're gonna sort of muddle your objective and what you're trying to get done. Less is kind of more. Oh, this dude's drowning, poor bugger. You can see they've got the little suffocation bar as well, and that's why they're not enjoying that. Yeah, so it's more like research a little bit, move forward, check your bearings, research the next thing. It's not a super sprint to the finish line. However, like I said, heat death will sneak in before you know it. Like, this is already putting off a lot of heat. But I think we'll be okay. And just as long as you have a bit of a clear objective. So that's going to help a lot with that sort of flow. And hey, just as a visual representation, okay, cool, we've got a little bit of O2 down here. But once that's all red, that's probably a great indicator that we need to expand the sump. Right? Okay, so they're basically just cleaning up at the moment. We did some food. Now, what else we unlocked? The Algae Terrarium, which I'm a bit funny about, because it produces a lot of wastewater. I'm not 100% on how I feel about the terrarium. So, can I actually build it on a door? Oh shit, I can too. Let's do that. That's actually perfect. Let's do that. All right, so we'll start expanding. Hang on, invalid build location. So why are you letting me do it, game? We'll put them down anyway. I just find that they produce a lot of polluted water that I don't really want. But this will help as a sort of boundary protector. What that does is it sucks in CO2, and for the cost of water and algae, it turns it into oxygen. But it should keep a sort of stop on our sump. You know what I mean? As the CO2 starts to poke its head up, and you can see there. I'm not sure if it's... it is consuming a little bit, but they should probably just idle. You know, they won't use up resources if there's no CO2 to suck on. Cool. Cool. What else did we get? Food. Planter box. I'm not that worried, actually. We're going to jump past that. Compost. Compost is actually pretty important. So, we might... let me see. I mean, I guess we could have a composting room. I'm not that worried. Let's just start putting some shit in the corridors. We'll do that. Because what you can see here, see how dirty this room is. And that's because that's where they're putting all the poo water. If you go in here and click on it, also poo sand, polluted dirt, right? 1 million germs. So that's what this outhouse, when they dig it out, is sort of dropping. And we need to get rid of that polluted dirt. You'll see someone will put it in the compost heap. And that will be flipped eventually and get turned into composted dirt, albeit it'll be super heated. It'll be really, really hot. But it's kind of necessary to keep on top of these germs. Look at them spreading them around and that. They're not terrible. Okay, what else have we got? Food. Like, we don't want the planter box. Like I said, we're not in a screaming hurry. What I might do, I wouldn't mind airflow tiles, since I'm not really tutorializing, but I'm explaining myself, right? Here we go, this, I want that, an airflow tile, and the pressure door, to be honest, I'll be using before you know it, so we'll queue that up. Because what I like to do, while I don't want foot traffic going through these rooms, I want them to just use the Jeffries tubes and the access ladders. That doesn't mean I don't want gas to flow through. In fact, you can see sometimes it gets hung up in the corners, especially when you start making, if I made this into a larger building, the flow profile becomes a real problem. So what I actually want to do is put airflow tiles sort of in the middle to allow the gas further transit throughout the base. Alright, so they've flipped that, emitting dirt. No, you can't see it yet, but it'll be this little red hot ball. But, you know, it's all part of the process, one problem after the other. So even though it's saying that we're sucking back more oxygen than we're making, I think we're still doing alright. It's still quite dense, for the most part. But yeah, you gotta remember, no matter, even if you make this perfect oxygen citadel, and look at that, look at how that's flattened out. These dudes are still pooping out, for lack of a better term, CO2. And that's got to go somewhere, so you need a fairly... well, it's not sophisticated, but dare I say elegant solution to a gravity-fed filter system. What we'll do is we'll sort of expand on... I really wanted to put a door there. I guess I could just put it there. Yeah. We'll expand on the sump a little bit, just generally so there's flow throughout the entire base. There we go. So they researched the first block then, so that's essentially ventilation systems, which we're not super worried about just yet. I'm just happy to have this sort of passive... See, like this oxygen diffuser's not doing anything because all the tiles around it have like hyper dense oxygen. Occasionally you'll see it, you can see that between the two of them they sputter occasionally, but then the rest of the tiles will start to promulgate their oxygen around the base, and I find it to be a pretty good solution in the early days. But what we will do is come up with an actual oxygen generating plant and a HVAC system on the back of that to circulate through the base, and then we could probably pressure feed the base better as well, alright? Speed up the gravity feed process. So what's going on here? Here's my pressure door, which is handy, but the airflow tile is what we want. So here's the thing, it's been a little while since I've done this, because I don't really want to go overkill. What would be... See, because you need flow through the top. It's not, I don't think it can go through diagonally. I think what we might go with, if we do something like... If we were to do something like that, we've got it flow all through there. And then potentially something like that. Because in the past I put them in here as well. It's getting very messy, isn't it? That's a bit of a mirror there. What if, what about that? Kind of looks nice, doesn't it? Flow through there. I mean, arguably you don't even necessarily need that. But I wouldn't mind flow. Yeah, that would probably work actually, because remember there's different weights of oxygen. You could have O2 here and you could have CO2 here. I know this is being a little bit anal, but it's, hey, it's my idiosyncratic base build. Let the boy build. Yeah, let's do exactly that. We'll do it that way. So like that. And, oh, I don't know. What would be the best way to do it here? Something like that, like a little dog leg. Because remember, that's a little bit unusual because of the printing machine. Yeah, I kind of like that, to be honest. Oh, what else we got there? Pressure door. Liquid valve. Yeah. And then all the gas stuff. Yeah, look at that. Base is looking dandy. There you go, there's your hot dirt rock. That is going to be a problem. Oh shit, we're running low on food as well. I haven't been paying attention to the food. We're going to go emergency shift because this toilet needs to be dug out. So they're all going to wake up in the morning, they're all going to piss themselves. This is also a problem here, I can see. Oh no. Hang on, this is a real problem. We need to deal with this ASAP. Because if people start weeing... Here we go. Okay, that should help. And in fact, we'll put that there as well. Just a sort of little lip. If someone wheezes themselves and it falls down here, I don't want it in my clean water. So you can see this is stressing the colony out pretty bad because I'm making them work through their sleep time. But we really needed that toilet done before anyone weed. However, there we go. People are already weeing themselves. Look at that. Oh my god. Saw that coming. What's the solution here, Scarlet? Well, plumbed toilets would help because then they don't get clogged. But more toilets as well. Now look at that. Look how much well, he just dropped some in there, and that's probably going to end up in the compost. But we are handling the spread of food poisoning, or whatever you want to call it, much better. Alright, what's next on the list? Ventilation, cool. Well, we need a new toilet. There's no two ways about that. Which way shall we I mean, this seems alright, apart from the fact that it's CO2. It's a bit poopy. Let's expand out to here. So I could probably just draw it up now. Right. 3. Oops. That'll get the ball rolling. We'll just baby steps, you know? Alright. Look at all that CO2 busting into the base. It's alright, we can handle it. Yeah, so they're going to randomly want to sleep during the day, and that's, hey, I did that to them. It's not a big deal. It was good, it worked out in the end, save having 10 different blokes bloody piss their pants. We don't really want that. Alright, food. Now, food we haven't really been dealing with properly. We're going to turn this machine on, but we might just wake everyone out. They'll get their sleep cycle back, bugger them. So essentially, we're going to automatically work this machine. Now, this machine's very water, dirt, and power and labor intensive. You don't want to be feeding your colony this way. However, it has like a terrible negative morale modifier on it, but it doesn't matter that much because all these dudes don't give a shit because they're low-skilled labor. So we'll do that for the moment, but what we actually need to do is start farming. We need to come up with a farming solution. So we're going to go up here. We do have the planter box, but I would rather have this, the farm tile, because you can replace a floor tile with it, and we can put it in our corridors. You'll see. new recruit. No. Duplicate skills. Ari's our farmer, remember? Grilling? Do we have someone with grilling? I don't think so. Oh, you can see the little crown anyway. Duplicates of mastered. So cooking. If I can get someone that can do cooking, that would be pretty cool. Ranching, building, farming. Ranching, building, farming, supplying. Let's see. Let's see what we can... No. Ranching, building, farming, supplying. It's not really... Supplying? Supplying. Let's get supplying. I don't really care about any of these traits or anything like that. I don't get into the RPG stuff that much. Whatever. I just make everyone bloody work. Everyone works, no one quits. And then you're laughing. See now this. See, polluted water, emitting polluted oxygen. Okay, so yeah, the bottle does give it off. Not emitting over pressure. Yeah, so these bottles will actually emit dirty oxygen, which you can sort of see here. And they give you dudes yucky lungs. It's not the end of the world, but it's not ideal. We should be trying to offset everything if we can. So that might be one of the next things that we actually undertake, is starting to create a polluted water sump. Now you can clean polluted water by, well, come up with a solution. How would you do it? But one of the ones I know off the top of my head is superheat it, state change it. I don't know if that's still in here, but if you heat it to the point where it becomes a gas or whatever, like, well, actually no, it's the polluted water, and we turn it into, you know, oxygen, and then you cool it back down. You can clean it through that process. But obviously, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, that adds more heat to your system. Starting to see a theme. Oh my god, what happened there? So you're getting a little bit of flow hung up in there. Alright, they're nearly finished the research. Yeah, so the research can really stand your base still. We've also, like I said, we've got this guy working this machine non-stop, which is going to drain our batteries heavily. But as long as the food is sort of in the red, we really just need that man sitting on the machine. Okay, so we got the food research done, which was mostly, I mean, they're handy, but it's mostly for this, for the farm tile. Let's bung some down here in the corridor. See what I mean about overtasking them? Just gotta be careful you don't give them too much to do. Because you gotta stay sane as well, you know? See the forest for the trees, right? You just start slapping down a million different jobs, you'll start forgetting where you're at and what's the most important. So farm, we're just gonna start growing mealwood, which is the next tier up of food, which is still awful, but it's something. And then they fertilize it. I don't think it minds being in CO2, but if you don't keep a handle on the heat death like creep in your base, funnily, before you do start actually dying, it's your plants that will start going into a temperature that they can't handle. You can see here, body temperature, air pressure, needs all these ticks. This isn't that bad. Some of the more exotic stuff is insane, the requirements required to grow them. But this is all pretty baseline stuff. You can just grow it in the corridor. Don't worry about it, you know? Alright, 8,000. Let's turn that machine off for the moment. Alright, we've got the beds. Still getting a bit of a food warning here. 6,000 calories being done per cycle. I'm not that worried. You can see up here, that'll turn red if that's a problem. And then look, they're probably going to eat it all now and I'll have to turn the machine back on. Yeah, so we'll turn it on in preparation for tomorrow's work day. And then that's where we're at, basically. So you can see the O2, the dirty O2, it's slightly heavier than normal oxygen, so it separates out. But I think we need to deal with that sooner than later. So getting a polluted oxygen reservoir and drop-off station will probably be the next project. Yeah, it's good to be playing this again. It's fun. It's kind of fun to talk about it while you play it as well, right? I'm not purporting to be an expert or anything like that, but if I at least explain the method to the madness, people can help me figure out, you know, poke holes in it and all that, and potentially learn from it. But I consider myself to be a stepping stone, right? So I'm not the bloody professor or anything like that, but maybe I'm the kindergarten teacher, right? I'm teaching important stuff at a certain level, and maybe that helps get people off the training wheels and then onto bigger and better things, and then they build bases infinitely better than me. That's what I'm interested in. Anyway, team, again, let me know if you want to see some more. I would be happy to settle into this, to be honest. Alright team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.